Okay, let's unpack this. The big one, the question that makes you stare up at the night sky and wonder, where are the aliens?
Mm,
I mean, when you think about the sheer size of the universe, what is it, 400 billion stars in our galaxy alone?
something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Astronomical numbers.
And so many have planets orbiting them. Some of those planets are in the habitable zone. It just feels like we shouldn't be the only show in town. So where is everybody?
It's a question that really grabs you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For this deep dive, we're tackling it head on using the fascinating collection of sources you shared.
Right.
We've got a detailed scientific paper that really unravels the history of this very question.
Yep.
And there's a lively Reddit discussion, just buzzing with all sorts of, well, creative ideas.
Yeah, Reddit always delivers on that front.
And even perspectives from a TEDx talk that touches on humanity's place in the cosmos.
Yeah.
So our mission today, basically, is to cut through the complexity. We want to really understand where this whole idea of the Fermi Paradox came from, figure out what Fermi himself actually thought, and explore some of the most compelling reasons proposed for why we haven't encountered any extraterrestrial life yet.
Right. The Fermi Paradox. It sounds like this big established scientific puzzle. But here's where it gets really interesting based on that paper.
Mhm.
It turns out that what most of us think of as the Fermi Paradox might not be what Fermi even intended.
That's such a critical point to understand right from the start.
Yeah.
The paper by Robert Gray, it makes it super clear. Enrico Fermi, brilliant physicist, right? He never actually published anything formally on this topic.
Nothing. Zero.
Zero official papers. His involvement basically boils down to a casual lunchtime conversation.
Mhm.
This was back in 1950 at Los Alamos.
Just chatting over lunch.
Pretty much. He apparently just asked, sort of off the cuff, but where is everybody? It wasn't some grand scientific proposal, more like a spontaneous thought about aliens, visiting us.
So, a casual lunch question, maybe fueled by some cafeteria chili, sparked one of the biggest scientific head scratchers. That's kind of amazing.
It is. And the accounts from people who were actually there, Konopinski, Teller, and York, they really give you a feel for that conversation. Or apparently, it might have even started because of a New Yorker cartoon about flying saucers stealing trash cans.
Seriously, a cartoon.
Yeah, that's what one account suggests kicked it off. Konopinski remembered them talking about whether these hypothetical saucers could even, break the speed of light.
Ah, the physics angle.
Right. And Teller recalled Fermi pointing out the enormous distances between stars, between potentially habitable locations, basically saying maybe we're just incredibly far apart.
Makes sense. Space is big, really big.
Understatement, yeah. And York specifically remembered Fermi, concluding that the lack of visitors might just be because interstellar travel is, well, maybe impossible, or just too difficult, too impractical.
Okay.
He also apparently considered the idea that maybe technological civilizations just don't last very long. They pop up, then fizzle out.
So wait, the key takeaway here is that Fermi's original question was really about the feasibility of interstellar travel, not some profound statement that aliens definitely don't exist.
Exactly. That's the crucial difference from how the Fermi paradox is usually framed today.
Wow.
Fermi was questioning the practicalities, the nuts and bolts of getting from star A to star B. The whole idea that they are not here, therefore they do not exist, that really solidified later, mostly with Michael Hart's 1975 paper.
Hart, right. What was his argument again?
Hart argued that, look, if advanced alien civilizations existed, they would have inevitably developed interstellar travel. It's just what advanced civilizations do, in his view, and they would colonize the galaxy.
So kind of like Manifest Destiny, but galactic?
Sort of, yeah. And since we don't see any obvious evidence of them, no alien cities on the moon or whatever, he concluded they must simply not be out there.
Okay, that's a much stronger claim than Fermi's is travel hard question.
Much stronger. And then Tipler kind of doubled down on Hart's ideas in 1980. He brought in those self-replicating intelligent machines.
Right. That sounds like something straight out of sci-fi. The von Neumann probes.
It totally does. Tipler proposed that these self-replicating robots could explore and colonize the entire galaxy relatively quickly within maybe 300 million years.
300 million years. Sounds long, but cosmically, that's not ages.
Exactly. Think of it like a robot that builds copies of itself. Those copies build more copies,
Yeah.
spreading exponentially. A machine chain reaction across the stars.
Okay. Creepy and efficient.
And his conclusion was even more extreme than Hart's. He basically suggested that humanity might be the only intelligent species, not just in the galaxy, but in the entire universe.
Whoa. Okay, that's a pretty bold statement. It's fascinating how these ideas evolve, though, from a lunch chat to universal solitude.
And the actual term Fermi Paradox, it didn't even show up in print until 1977. It seems it was coined by someone named Stevenson, probably just to describe the problems SETI researchers were facing.
SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
Right. And it's important to realize the impact this, well, misattributed paradox actually had. There was this Senator Proxmire.
Oh yeah, the Golden Fleece Awards guy.
That's the one. He actually used Tipler's argument, the if they could, they would have visited already logic, when he successfully pushed to cut NASA's funding for SETI back in 1981.
Wow, so this academic argument had real-world consequences for science funding.
Absolutely. It shows how this line of thinking, even though it wasn't really Fermi's original point, shaped the debate and even policy.
It's almost a cautionary tale, isn't it? How a simple question gets twisted into a seemingly definitive argument that shuts down exploration.
It really is. So, just to nail it down, Fermi wondered about travel difficulties. Hart and Tipler argued the lack of visible aliens implies they don't exist. Very different things.
Got it. Okay, so if we accept Fermi's original question, where is everybody, assuming travel is possible, and we still haven't seen them, well, the Reddit thread and the wider scientific community have a lot of potential answers.
Oh yeah, a huge range. It helps to group them into broad categories just to make sense of it all.
Okay, let's dive into those possible reasons for this great silence. The first big category seems to be the great filter. Sounds ominous, like some kind of cosmic gatekeeper.
It kind of is. The great filter concept suggests there's at least one step in the whole process, from non-life to galaxy-spanning civilization, that is incredibly improbably difficult to overcome.
Okay, like a bottleneck.
Exactly. And this filter could be behind us, meaning something in our past was the super hard step, maybe the origin of life itself, or the jump to complex cells, or intelligence. That ties into the rare Earth hypothesis, the idea that Earth's specific conditions are just unbelievably unique and lucky.
So maybe we are the rare ones because getting to this point was the hard part.
That's one possibility. Or the filter could be ahead of us.
Uh-oh. That sounds worse.
Slight chuckle. It's definitely more sobering. This suggests that maybe lots of civilizations reach our stage, or even a bit further, but then something prevents them from going truly interstellar, the most common candidate. Self-destruction.
Right. Nuclear war, climate change, runaway AI. Take your pick.
Exactly. The scientific paper mentions Hansen breaking down all these potential hurdles. Planet formation in the right zone, abiogenesis, simple cells, complex cells, tool use, technology, and finally, space colonization without self-destruction. It's a long list of potential roadblocks.
Yeah, pretty daunting. And the Reddit discussion seemed to really latch onto that self-destruction idea.
It did. One user suggested intelligent life often wipes itself out, maybe due to a lack of humility or just not being wise enough to handle its own power. The TEDx Talk speaker also touched on this, pointing to nukes specifically as maybe the filter we're currently facing.
A test we haven't passed yet. Yikes. And then there's that other idea, the first in, last out hypothesis. That one sounded particularly bleak.
Berezin's idea. Yeah, it's grim. The concept is that the first civilization to achieve easy interstellar travel might, just by expanding naturally, inevitably wipe out any emerging competition.
Not necessarily maliciously.
Not necessarily. Could be unintentional.
Mm-hmm.
Like humans paving over an anthill to build a highway. They don't hate the ants. The ants are just in the way or unnoticed.
Okay, that's the great filter something stopping civilizations cold. But what if they are out there, maybe lots of them, and we just can't see them or don't recognize them?
That's the next big category of explanations. And one major point here is maybe our methods of detection are too limited. We primarily listen for radio waves, right?
Yeah, that's SETI's main thing.
But as the paper points out, we've only searched a tiny, tiny fraction of the entire radio spectrum. We might be listening on the wrong channel, so to speak.
Or maybe radio isn't even what advanced civilizations use. The Reddit thread had some cool thoughts on that.
Definitely. Someone mentioned the personal Ansible from Ursula Le Guin's sci-fi. Some kind of instantaneous communication we can't even fathom yet.
Like quantum entanglement communication or something.
Maybe. Or something even weirder. Another user brought up the idea from a book called Quantum Space, suggesting radio might just be fundamentally useless for practical interstellar communication over those vast distances. Too slow, too weak.
So we're like listening for signal drums while they're using hyper Wi-Fi.
Travels. It's a good way to put it. We might be completely missing the signals because we don't know what to look or listen for.
Okay. What else in this can't see them category?
Well, there's the idea that extraterrestrial life might be so fundamentally different from us, so alien, that we wouldn't even recognize it if we tripped over it.
The two alien hypothesis.
Right. One Redditor made a great point. We have trouble really understanding or communicating with octopuses or even ants right here on Earth. Imagine something that evolved on a completely different world under totally different conditions.
We might not even recognize it as life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you get the more fringe ideas like the Men in Black scenario. They're here, hiding among us, and we're oblivious.
Frogs.
Okay, maybe less likely. That's something to think about. What about that transcension hypothesis, moving into black holes?
It's John Smart's idea. Yeah, the concept is that super advanced civilizations might find it vastly more efficient, computationally or otherwise, to move into inner space, incredibly dense environments like black holes or neutron stars, sort of a cosmic upgrade to better hardware.
Trading the messy physical world for pure computation?
Kind of. But the paper we looked at raises a good counterargument. Why would they abandon all the readily available energy and resources of normal space? Stars, planets. That's a lot of stuff to just leave behind. Even a fraction of a star's energy seems like it would dwarf what you could get from these niche environments.
Right, it seems counterintuitive to ditch a whole galaxy's worth of resources.
Right.
Okay, so maybe they're not hiding in black holes. What about the possibility that they are out there, they can travel, but they actively choose not to talk to us?
Now we get into motivations. This opens up several really interesting possibilities. One, classic, is the zoo hypothesis.
We're cosmic zoo animals. Yeah. Basically, yeah. The idea is that advanced civilizations are aware of us, maybe studying us, but they have a strict non-interference policy, like observing animals in a wildlife preserve. Don't disturb the natives.
Protects the primitive culture. I can see the appeal. Feels a bit passive, though.
It does, which leads to a much more active and, frankly, scarier idea, the dark forest theory.
Yeah, from Lou Sixon's three-body problem. The Reddit thread was all over this one. People mentioned that in Revelation Space and that creepypasta story, Radio Silence.
It clearly resonates. The core idea is terrifyingly simple. The universe is a dark forest. Every civilization is a hidden hunter. If you reveal your location by making noise like broadcasting radio signals, you risk attracting predators who will eliminate you before you become a threat.
Because any other civilization is a potential existential risk.
Exactly. So the winning strategy is absolute silence and hiding. And if you do detect someone else, eliminate them immediately, just to be safe. Be quiet or they'll hear you.
That's a chilling thought. A universe full of paranoid hidden civilizations constantly listening for rivals to exterminate gives me the creeps.
Me too. It paints a very bleak picture.
Okay, moving away from cosmic horror. What if they just aren't interested in us? Like, we're not worth the bother.
That came up a lot on Reddit too. Several users made the comparison. Why would a super advanced, maybe post-biological intelligence care about contacting, squabbling primates on a mud ball?
Hey,
Ah,
speak for yourself. But yeah, the ant analogy again. We don't try to have diplomatic relations with ant colonies.
precisely. We might be too primitive, too divided, just uninteresting to them. Or a related idea, maybe there is a prime directive scenario, like in Star Trek.
Right. Deliberate non-interference for ethical reasons to let us develop on our own.
Yeah, avoiding cultural contamination or maybe preventing us from getting advanced tech before we're ready for it.
Okay, so we've covered they can't get here, filter, we can't see them, detection alienness, or they choose not to interact, zoo dark forest indifference. What about just the basics, space and time?
Absolutely fundamental and maybe easily overlooked. Space is just mind-bogglingly vast. The distances are huge.
Light speed is fast, but space is faster. Kind of.
Well, space is bigger than light speed allows for easy travel, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The speed of light is a hard limit as far as we know.
Mm-hmm.
So even sending a signal to a civilization, say, 1,000 light years away, takes 1,000 years.
And then you wait another 1,000 years for a reply, a 2,000-year conversation lag.
Exactly. Makes real-time chat difficult. And as one Redditor pointed out, our own earliest signals, our radio bubble, hasn't even reached that far yet, relatively speaking. I've only been broadcasting for a century or so.
A tiny whisper in a vast ocean.
Pretty much. Any civilization we could detect right now would have had to develop much, much earlier than us to be within our detection range.
And the age of the universe itself plays a role, too, right? It's billions of years old.
13.8 billion years old.
Yeah.
Humanity, especially technological humanity, is just a tiny blip at the very end of that timeline. Intelligent life might arise, flourish, and then disappear at vastly different times and places across the eons.
So maybe civilizations are like ships passing in the night, but the night is billions of years long and trillions of miles wide.
That's a perfect analogy. The odds of two civilizations being close enough and existing at the same time and both being detectable or communicative might just be incredibly low.
Okay. Simple, but potentially a very powerful explanation. Now, the Reddit thread, it just exploded with other possibilities, some really out there. Were there any others that particularly caught your eye?
Oh, loads. It was a wild ride. The simulation hypothesis kept coming up.
Right, the idea we're living in a giant computer program and maybe the programmers just didn't bother coding in aliens or limited the scope.
Yep. Then there's the flip side of rare Earth. Maybe not Earth, but life itself is incredibly rare. That first step, abiogenesis, the origin of life from non-living stuff, maybe that's the real great filter, with ridiculously low probability.
So we could be like the only life or nearly the only life anywhere.
It's possible. Another interesting one was about machine intelligence. Maybe AI evolves, becomes super powerful, but then loses interest, loses the biological drive for expansion and conquest.
Sort of post-biological apathy.
Huh. And the elder race idea?
Hmm.
Maybe we are actually among the first advanced species to arise, at least in our corner of the galaxy. Someone have to be first, maybe it's us.
That feels lonely. What else? There's some weird stuff.
Oh yeah. Someone suggested a protective invisible barrier around our solar system. No idea what that would be, but okay. And space leviathans.
Space leviathans, I love that one. Giant creatures that eat spacecraft.
Tuckles sounds like a B-movie plot, but hey, it's an explanation. Then more techie ideas. Civilizations hitting a singularity event that destroys or fundamentally changes them beyond recognition.
Like uploading their consciousnesses and leaving the physical universe.
Could be. Or triggering a false vacuum decay. That's a physics concept where the universe might suddenly collapse into a different lower energy state if you poke it too hard with high energy tech.
Whoops. Yikes. Don't build that particle accelerator too big.
Right. And the simple idea that maybe we are the aliens, someone else seated here, and other worlds are out there wondering where we, their creators, are.
A cosmic orphan scenario. It's
Yeah.
just so many possibilities.
It really is. And the Reddit discussion just kept going, highlighting how many specific factors about Earth might be rare, strong magnetic field, right distance from the sun, big moon, plate tectonics.
The list goes on.
Exactly. And the point about advanced AI potentially being so strange we couldn't detect it, or that really dark theory like from the Death Worlders story ending about some super race cultivating life but culling civilizations periodically to keep the overall galactic signal low, maybe hiding from some extragalactic threat.
Okay, now my head is spinning. From lunch chatter to extragalactic threats and space leviathans.
Chuckles, it covers a spectrum.
So, okay, let's try and pull this back together. After this deep dive into the sources, it seems crystal clear that the Fermi Paradox, as it's commonly known, it's not really a neat, well-defined puzzle.
Not at all. It's built on some pretty big assumptions, particularly Hart's and Templer's assumptions about universal colonization being inevitable. And crucially, it misrepresents Fermi's actual, much more open-ended question about the difficulty of travel.
So the big takeaway Fermi asked is travel hard, not do aliens not exist. And the paradox label came later based on different arguments and had a real impact, like on SETI funding.
Precisely. You've nailed it.
Yeah.
And the sheer number of potential solutions we've just touched on, wow, from great filters stopping life before it starts, or civilizations destroying themselves, to them hiding in plain sight or being too far away in space or time,
Or just finding us uninteresting.
or being eaten by space leviathans. It really underscores just how much we don't know about the universe, about the emergence of life, about the development of intelligence and technology.
Yeah. It's humbling, really. Hopefully this deep dive has helped you get a clearer picture of all the complex pieces involved in this enduring question. Maybe offered some surprising facts, like the origin story, without just feeling totally lost in a sea of maybes.
Absolutely. It's less about finding the answer, maybe, and more about appreciating the scale of the question and the incredible range of possibilities, and considering that vast array. Maybe here's a final thought for you to mull over. Out of everything we discussed, the filters, the distances, the motivations, the weirdness, what single factor do you think is the most likely reason for the Great Silence?
Ooh, putting me on the spot.
And more importantly, what would the implications of that reason be for humanity's own future out there among the stars? It's a question that definitely keeps the curiosity burning and invites a whole lot more thinking.